Okay, today we are going to continue our work on using tape diagrams to help us solve percent problems. Okay, so we have a tape diagram already started for us here. Let's take a look. It says, how much is 50% of 10 liters of milk? So my top bar is worth 10, my middle bar or tape diagram is worth 2,000, and my bottom bar is already divided up in my 50%. So that's super helpful. It's asking us how much is 50% of 10 liters of milk. So if I want to think about cutting this bar into two chunks, I start with 10, I'm dividing it into my two chunks of my bar, so 5. 50% of 10 liters of milk is 5 liters. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing in this tape diagram. I started with 2,000 kilometers of my trip. I'm dividing it into two pieces of my tape diagram, group 1, group 2, to give me each piece is 1,000. Adding it together to 2,000 to double check. So 50% is 1,000. Okay, now let's think about this one. How long is 50% of 24-hour day? So if this whole bar equals 24 hours, I'm chopping it into my two groups, divided by two groups. Each bar is equal to 12. What do you notice about how we can find 50% of any number? What did you notice here? What did we do each time? Each time we divided by 2. So to find 50% of something, you can divide by 2 or multiply by 1/2. So that's the pattern we were really looking for here. Each time we divided by 2, or you could multiply by 1/2. Okay, so let's think about this looking at a group of 10%. So looking at that same tape diagram up here, this time though, we are looking at 10% of that. So for it to be 10%, I would have 10 groups in my tape diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have 10 groups in 100%, 10 groups of 10. So in this case, I'm going to do my 2,000 divided by my 10 groups to find out which each of those bars equal, and I have 200 kilometers. I'm going to see if this process is the same. I have my 10 liters of milk. I'm going to divide it up into my 10% groups, so divide by 10, and I get 1 liter of milk. How long is 10% of a 24-hour day? We're going to follow the same pattern. My 24 hours, I'm dividing it into my 10 groups, so I'm going to have 2.4 hours every 10%, 2.4 hours. What pattern did I make here? I divided to find 10%. I divided by 10 each time. Or you could multiply by 1/10. Most people are going to divide by 10. That's a strategy that most students will do. Okay. Now, this one is a little trickier because 75% isn't quite as easy as 10 or half, 50%. 3/4 is the equivalent fraction, so we're going to chop up this tape diagram into fourths. So I'm going to just look at my same process here. 24 hours a day divided by, I have 4 groups in my tape diagram. So it's going to be 18 hours. 75% of 24 is 18 hours. Divided by 4, actually 24, sorry. 24 divided by 4 is 6 per box. And I need 3 of the 4 boxes for my 18 hours. So let's look at 2,000 kilometers. I'm going to take my 2,000, divide it into my 4 groups. Each group is worth 500. I want 3 of the 4 groups for 75%, 3 of the 4 groups, meaning 1,500 kilometers. Looking at the milk one, same process. We have our 4 groups. 10 divided by our 4 groups. Each group is worth 2.5 for a total bar of 10. I want to think about 3 of those 4 groups. 3 of those 4 groups, 2.5 plus 2.5 plus 2.5. I have 7.5 liters. Okay? So in this case, we actually had to take 2 steps. We had to divide by our 4, put it in our 4 groups, and then we had to multiply by our 3 groups that we're actually concerned about. So step 1, we divided by 4. Step 2, we multiplied by the 3 groups we were worried about. So we kind of found the unit right. We found the number that 1 box equaled. Then we multiplied it by 3. Or you could multiply by 3/4. Okay, so those are 2 of the strategies you could do to help you solve this problem. Looking at the next page at the top, where it says 9 is. 9 is. We're going to do a couple of these before you go out and try to practice. We are going to figure out what is 9. 9 is what? 9 is 50% of what number? So we are looking for the whole. We're looking for the whole. So if we use the pattern before, we know that this means it's cut in half. So that means this number is cut in half. So we would have 9 plus 9 would give us our whole of 18. Okay? 9 is 25% of what number? So if I know 25% or like 25 cents is a fourth, is 1 of the 4 boxes, I'm looking for the total bar of 36. 9 is 10% of what number? So I have 10 boxes. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. I have my 10 boxes. One of these boxes equals 9. If 1 equals 9, they all equal 9. So 9 times my 10 boxes is 90. My whole is 90.